Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Club Live here at Club at 22, your Rangers podcast. Here this evening to discuss more things Rangers during this wee international break for the World Cup that we've got on. And before we get into things, let's introduce the guests tonight. Just two guests this evening. First up, Alistair Pearson. How are things with you? Now into Christmas, so I'm sure you're loving it now.
Yeah, I've got my advent calendar here, Scotia. Don't you worry. That's a couple of chocolates out of it. So,
did your mum buy it? Did your mum buy it?
She did buy me, Garni, aye. She bought me. Buys me one every year. She'll probably buy me one till I'm up to my 50s, 60s, whatever, if I last that long. But aye, no, I like the run up to Christmas, Scotia. I actually prefer the run up to Christmas and Christmas Day. I think Christmas Day is a bit of a kind of, I don't know, it's all right, but I prefer the run up because there's usually some good nights out. I know we've got a Christmas party coming up soon, so or Christmas night out or day out, as we call it, next week. So that'll be interesting.
Looking forward to that. Talking about advent calendars, I was cleaning out my room, my bookshelf, and there was an advent calendar from like 2020 sitting there that hadn't got through, so that was swiftly chucked in the bin. But anyway, yeah, the other guest this evening is Scott Carney himself. How are things with you, Scott?
Yes, good evening, everybody. 1 week closer to real football returning, and this bit of a farce of a World Cup will be over with. Honestly, it must have been last Friday. We had a wee chat when we came off air, and Ali's like that to me, Carney, have you been watching the World Cup? I'm like, mate, honestly, no, I've not really been watching it. So you need to watch it, mate, it's been great. So I went downstairs, sat down, put on the second half of the England-USA game, and messaged him about 15, 20 minutes into it going, aye, Carney, tune in, watch the World Cup. Absolute dross, man, absolute dross. But it's getting to the exciting. It was woeful. It's getting to the exciting point of the tournament now, so I'll definitely be tuning in more often. That is for sure. Already a few shocks in it, I suppose. But yes, we're here to talk about Rangers, and it's always good to talk about Rangers when you've got a new manager.
It is indeed. No, the good thing about the World Cup is that it's definitely Kenny, and with Beale coming in as well, it's definitely Kenny. It's helped that Rangers aren't playing that this is on in the last few days in the World Cup's been brilliant. Even earlier on today, sitting watching the last few minutes of the Uruguay game, needing a goal. It was great to sit and watch that stuff coming. But anyway, enough of the World Cup. We're all here to talk about all things Rangers.
Can I ask a question quickly? Sorry, Scotia, just quickly about the Uruguay game. Did Suarez do anything ridiculous, like handball it or anything?
Oh, he took off earlier, so he wasn't there for those final few minutes because I think Cavani tried to dive for a penalty and things like that towards the end. So I think they all kicked off towards the end as well as the Uruguayans tend to do. But yeah, no, enough of that. Anyway, yeah, we're a few more days into the reign of Michael Beale as the Rangers manager, and obviously since we came at you on Monday evening, pretty much as soon as it got announced, really, there's been a few bit more in pieces in terms of interviews in Sky Sports, and obviously the official unveiling in the Blue Room at Ibrox. Before we kind of take a deep dive into the Blue Room kind of interview that was released yesterday, just a few days further on, Carney, what are your overall opinions on Beale? Has much changed? Are you still buzzing? Still mainly positive one of us?
100%, mate. Yes, the more I see, the more I like. Look, and I'll caveat this right at the start. I get it's all just words just now, I do. But everything I've seen, everything I'm hearing, the way it's looking, yes, I am very much all aboard. Probably captain of said Beale train. To be fair, mate, I can't wait for it to get started now. I think it's just gave me a lift in terms of Rangers, in terms of what we had been kind of putting up with under Gio, and we're now at a new cliche, a new dawn, a new era, if you like. But it's very much an exciting time to be looking forward to. As I say, I think there's the majority of people now are really looking forward to see what comes, to see what we managed to put together against Hibs. I think a lot of us are now counting down the days. As I say, everybody will know I am not a fan of international football at all. So it is just a case of counting down the days now until Rangers get back to competitive action. And yeah, everything so far that Beale said, the wee snippets and stuff that you're seeing in training, yeah, it's all good, it's all well. I get that, but I think you can already see a lift in the team. I know we weren't really privileged to seeing training videos as such under Gio. It was kind of few and far between if you've seen anything, and it was really the same thing they were doing. But this seems back to the way it was kind of under Gerrard, where you're getting a lot more access to the kind of first team training as a whole. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, mate. I'm looking forward to seeing if he can deliver what he thinks he can. it's going to be interesting to see. I think we're all maybe expecting much of the same as the way it was under Gerrard, McAllister and Bale, but I think there will be differences here. I think there'll be maybe not glaringly obvious differences, but I definitely think there will be. So no, I mean, bring on the Hibs game, mate, as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I have to say, these last sort of 3-4 days since Monday, it's like I've been given a new toy to play with, just because I'm starting to feel really excited again, which, prior to that probably wasn't the case. What about you, Ali? Are you, Kenny, getting all aboard the Beale train again?
I was never not on it. I'm definitely on it.
I think it might be the Beale bus. People are shouting at us in the chat. Must be the Beale bus.
Well, whatever it is, I'm on it.
The Beale thingy-majiggy.
Aye. I've never not been on it. I just said from the beginning I would have liked maybe a fresh approach, if you know what I mean. But the more I've heard from Michael Beale, he's bringing in a completely new backroom staff. It's not as if it's staff that he had when Gerrard was there. It's his staff. Obviously, Scotia, you'll probably come on to what he said in his interviews. A few things he said I've liked. There was one thing, I don't know why you come on at Scotia, but there was one thing I liked, and I brought it up the last pod. I said, I hope he doesn't go in there and be their pal, because a lot of coaches are the players' pal, and he actually brought that up and said that when he was at Rangers under Gerrard, he was never their pal. They kept their distance from them, and I like that about him, and I like moving forward. I hope he keeps that as well. So that was good. That was good to hear for Beale, but. No, I'm all aboard it and looking forward to it. The only downside is they've moved that bloody... Well, it's supposed to be Saturday against Hibs at 3 o'clock, which would have been perfect. First game back, Christmas time, to a bloody Thursday, which is for Sky, which is ridiculous. I mean, that's a discussion on its own, but that's mental to do that. But it's for Sky, obviously. But that's the only downside. It is not a Saturday 3 o'clock where we can have a couple of shandies, and it is a Thursday night. Probably won't stop us to be fair. It's Christmas.
So. I remember when that game get moved. We were all like, a Thursday night. When was the last time we played on a Thursday night?
Get Europa League tune on.
Well, no, that is I mean more domestically, but no, like I say, the interview in the Blue Room, it was a 20-minute long one, so there's an awful lot to get through there and we'll dissect it. We'll let it go with the flow. If the listeners want, our viewers want to put in some comments, we'll try and get to them as well. But seeing as you brought it up there, Pearson, one of the things that he did kind of mention was the close to the players kind of thing. Were you ever close to the players? How do you move from that assistant coach or first team coach to a manager position? And I was, like you, really enthused by the fact that he said I was never really that close to them in the first place, or not close to them, but they had that distance between the players and he wasn't their pal kind of thing. Because Carney, this one for me, I mean, I'm sitting listening to the boys over at Heart and Hand. They're doing a show on the Ali years at the moment, and they're going through that game to game. And I think that's one of the big criticisms that got levelled at McCoist, was that he didn't have that distance between when he was the coach. He was brilliant doing all that, but then becoming the manager, you need that distance. Your thoughts on kind of that? I think you'll probably be in agreement that it's a good thing, what Beale said.
Yeah, very much so in agreement, mate. I like the way that he handled that, and I like that he addressed it as well. I think we were all kind of thinking that Beale was, and this probably sounds terrible, you kind of forgot that Gary Mack was there, and he was actually the number 2. Do you know what I mean? You're kind of forgetting that he's the Joker, if you like. He's the one that the Archie Knox to the Walter. He would have been the kind of the friend, the kind of joke character, if you like. Not a joke character in the sense of the person, but in terms of the way he was kind of portraying himself to the players, he was the kind of the middleman to make things lighter. And Beale said himself that he was the disciplinarian of the team. He was the one that really drove standards, and he was using all the correct words. It's easy to just think, and it's, as Rangers fans, we always do it. We're our own worst enemy. You just immediately think, oh, he's everybody's best pal. Everybody loves him. He's going to come back. Everybody's just going to think this is it. It's a swoosh from here on in for them. And I really don't think that's the case. I believe that I believe in everything that Michael Beale is saying right now, because I genuinely believe that he gets the club. I said it before, I think he even gets the club possibly more than what Gerrard gets the club, and he doesn't want to feel here. His family, he's used that as well, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. The fact that he's saying that his family are very happy here. One of his daughters was born here. He likes the city. He likes to stay in Scotland. He's here for the long haul. This isn't a quick come in, grab it and get out. This is the job that Michael Beale wanted when he entered into management, and I think that's clear to see now. If it was about money, he wouldn't be here. He would have went to Wolves and took whatever money they were offering. I don't think it's anything down to that, because there is absolutely no doubt in my mind that he's on nowhere near what he would have been on being at Wolves. But I think it's the stature of the club, it's the size of the club that he's and he gets his enthusiasm from, and I think he's going to thrive under the pressure. I do. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, but I think he's going to thrive under the pressure of we have to win every single game, and if we don't, it's a disaster. I think he understands that. I think he'll fully get that. It's not all going to go just swimmingly for him. But in terms of his attitude towards the players, the way he spoke about the players already, it's all very positive signs, and I think they fully know that there's a new gaffer in town.
Yeah, no, I mean, Ferry came brought out to the Blue Room press conference yesterday. That was one of the first things he was asked, really, Carney, that you were mentioning there, that the job was pretty much impossible to turn down, and he's quite adamant, and he done this in his Sky Sports interview as well, that it was both for a football reason and for personal reasons as well, because as he said, his family absolutely loved it up here. And I think this was something during the kind of process where we were looking for a manager, Pearson. It was something that was brought out. Obviously, when Beale became the front runner, it was the comments that he made regarding Wolves and the stuff that he put out to QPR, saying that, he wants to show some loyalty, and that was levelled at him a few occasions during that press conference yesterday. That he'd mentioned this and what it was like, and he did say that the Rangers job had come out of nowhere, and it was an offer he couldn't refuse, like Carney had mentioned there, for the personal and footballing reasons. But I think that kind of comments get similarities to both our two previous managers, in Gio and Gerrard, that they've come out and kind of said things one week and then it's changed, or it's come back to bit them. In terms of Gerrard, it was the do I look happy, and then obviously with Gio it was the we can't compete with the money, and then it gets levelled at you domestically. But what are your kind of thoughts on the enthusiasm that Beale's shown to join the club?
Yeah, everything's been positive from him. I like the way he speaks. I like what he wants to do moving forward. I don't want to steal your thunder, Scotia, like I usually do in the podcast, but there's certain quotes he said within the press conference that I like. It's getting me going. It's getting me looking forward to going and watch Rangers again. Yeah, he did that interview for QPR when he knocked back the Wolves job, basically saying, I'm here for the long haul. I'm here, but not being disrespectful to Queen's Park Rangers, and maybe some Queen's Park Rangers fans watching us tonight, I do not know, but not to be disrespectful to them. But if Glasgow Rangers come in, to a guy, let's be honest, who's only been in a job 4 months as a manager, he's been up here for 3.5 years. He's got a taste of it. Carney says, family side of it as well. He can't turn down Rangers. This might not come up again for him in his lifetime, so he has to go for it. He can see what he can do with Rangers. You see his last, we refer to as the Europa League finalists. So that's a big draw. European football form's a big draw. You see where he's coached in Brazil, Chelsea, Liverpool. I think the European thing's a big thing. If he went to Wolves, that's a dodgy job. Wolves, they change managers all the time. Is he going to get European football there? I don't know. But yeah, I think Rangers excites him, what he can do. He can win trophies here. He can do well in Europe. And obviously he's got all us as the fans behind him as well. So what's not to love being the manager of Glasgow Rangers?
No, indeed. And I'll just stay with you quickly because you mentioned one of the quotes he said, and I think I know the one that you're really talking about. It's I think Martin Ramsey from Heart and Hand had asked the question.
Scotia. Justin.
Yet again. Fantastic, Justin.
Magic, Justin. Thank you.
Aye, God bless America. They're through as well, Scotia, aren't they?
I was about to say, Ali, where's your line? I was like, I was waiting for Ali to say his line there. I was like,
my Scott Arfield. God bless America.
Thank you, Justin, mate.
Cheers, Bill. It was Martin Ramsey from Heart and Hand that asked the question, do you need to win a cup this season, really? And it was respond straight away. We need to be winning everything. And I think that's probably one of the ones that you stuck out. I mean, that those type of comments, I know they're a bit soundbitey, but it definitely does get the blood pumping.
Yeah, I mean, what is Ryan saying here all the time? Beginning to see he wants a treble. Not being greedy, but we've grown up with that. And you should want to win everything, being a Rangers fan. So he's got to say that. Realistically, looking at it, you're thinking if he can win 2 cups and close the gap, I think that's a good start to him, because this isn't going to be his team, remember. So when we play Hibs on the Thursday, it's not just going to miraculously change completely. Yes, he'll get a tune out of players, but I will judge him in the summer when he gets his team in, and hopefully there's a bit of a cull with the team we've got at the moment. But yeah, I like the way he talks. He's positive, like I say. Yeah, if you're managing the Rangers, you need to be in it to win every trophy. And the league, yeah, we're 9 points behind. Realistically, I think it's just out of reach now, but you never know. He commented on the Christmas period as a period where things can change potentially. He did say about last season when we were, I think it was about 7 points clear around about this time, Scotia, around about that. And obviously Celtic swung it and won it by 6 points last season. So it can happen. I just don't see them dropping, because we looked a bit dodgy last season. They don't. So, but you never know. But yeah, I like his positivity. And Jim Sloan, he's always just behind Justin Muir, isn't he? Always just behind.
Justin goes and then it gets Jim going. Fantastic.
Yeah,
guys.
Thanks very much, Jim. No, fantastic Scottish everything's saying so far. Just give me it on the football park. That's what I want.
No, Carney, I mean, I love those type of comments, because it does just get you super exciting. There were a few, were there any other kind of key highlights in terms of comments that he came out with that you had?
We have to start playing like the big team. I was like, yes, we do. Yes, exactly that. I am all aboard that kind of stuff. Look, and it is all sound bites, and it is, but I'm a Rangers fan. I'm allowed to get excited about stuff like this. I know, apparently I'm not. But I'm allowed to get excited about stuff like this. I believe in his philosophy of football. I'm going to back him to the house. It's a new manager. We don't really have a choice anyway. Even if you didn't agree with it, you've got to just keep going. I like pretty much everything that he said. I love the fact that he's talking the game. He didn't say that the league was over. He said it's all about winning the next game, and then it'll be all about winning the following game after that. And if we keep winning games, then you'll see where it takes us. Look, I'm the same as Ali. I'm not going back on what I said. In my opinion, we won't win the league. But he's got a chance to win 2 cups, and he's got a chance to close the gap. If he does that towards the end of the season, my God, he's going to buy a lot of Rangers fans over, that's for sure. If we manage to get both cups, we manage to close that gap, and we get close. I mean, I'm not going to say we're going to win it. Stranger things have happened in football, of course they have. But I am still of the opinion that the league's just out of reach now for us. We've left it a wee bit too late in regards to making the change. Even though in hindsight making the change now is probably the best idea, etc. Yes, but I like his thinking. I like the way he's wanting to approach it. And yeah, and even when he said my priority is to win 56 as quickly as possible, which is just it's what you want to be hearing. Aldo, thank you very much. That's very much appreciated, mate. Thank you, everybody. Very nice of everybody tonight. Everybody's in a good mood because I've got a new manager, I think. But no, thank you very much. But yeah, a lot of the sound bites, mate. I don't know if you're going to come on to it, mate. I use I'm a bit of a tradition man in terms of the way that I think Rangers should be held and standards wise, and it doesn't make a big difference. It doesn't make exactly as your comments just been put up. The fact that players will be wearing suits again on home ties, that's a small thing. That's not a massive thing. I actually heard as well on the way home that he actually done that at QPR as well. But it's you have to make these players believe that this is part of something that's bigger than them. Nobody is bigger than Glasgow Rangers Football Club, and that's the way it should always remain. There is no player in the world, there's no manager in the world that's bigger than our club. To other people that might sound bonkers, but to us it's the most true thing in the world. It's the biggest thing in our lives. So they have to believe that they are part of something truly extraordinary, spectacular, and they have to buy into the tradition of the club. Hence why we still have the marble staircase, the blue room, the trophy room, the way it looks, all these kind of things, all these wee traditions. And I do like, I mean, I wasn't a fan of when they heard they were modernising the home dressing room, but the way they done it's actually brilliant. It looks great. It really does look brilliant because it still has that tradition there. It's clear to see. But yeah, even just putting the players in the suits, and again, it won't make them better players, but it might make them just believe themselves a wee bit more, and it might make themselves believe that they are part of something pretty big. And if you get a 1% improvement out it, then it's still 1% of an improvement. So no, I was very much all for that, and interesting to see that he's fully accepted that he'll be wearing a suit all the time now as well.
Yeah, it's one of the things I don't know, it's just because we've grown up with, Souness and Smith wearing a suit that it's always kind of expected to be the done thing. I know an awful lot of managers these days don't like it. They prefer to be the coach and in their trackies, but I think it's really important to have that suit on, because for me, what it does, and this is a question that he kind of brought up, and mate, it wasn't a controversial comment he made really, but during this interview in the Blue Room, he did mention that it's a squad of winners. Now, I was like, they've won things, but is that enough for me that what they've won? And it was in the Sky Sports interview, Ali, that he'd said that, we have won things, but at a club like Rangers, it's not enough just to be winning these leagues once every couple of seasons, a cup every now and again, getting the Europa League final. This needs to be kind of a consistent thing. And that was another thing that I really liked from the interview that he'd done with Sky Sports, that he knows, he understands our levels and what we expect.
He understands we need to win every week. If we don't, it's a crisis. We're the only football club, along with them on the other side, that if you don't win on a Saturday, it's an absolute crisis and folk in a meltdown. It's a weird place of the world in Glasgow. There's not many other football clubs where that happens, and he understands it. His comment of it's a team of winners, I think he meant in terms of they need to try and win each week. In terms of trophies, they're not a team of winners from me in terms of trophies. They won the league a couple of years ago. They won a cup last season. They done fantastically well to get to Europa League final. Ultimately, we didn't win it. Unfortunately, it was in penalties. But until they win cups on a regular basis, then you call them winners for me. They've not done that for me, this Rangers team. They've won important trophies at important times, but they've not put a run together, and that's winners for me. You look back to the era we grew up in, 9 in a row, regularly winning trophies, doubles, trebles. I'm not expecting Rangers to win a treble every season as much as I would love it, but they need to win consistently. And
but you kind of are though, and that's, I know. But that's fine. That's okay.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But I mean, the realistic bit in the back of my head was they can't do that every season. But,
I know.
But yeah, it's until they put a run of trophies together, that's when you can call them winners. I don't call them winners because they haven't achieved what I think they should achieve as Rangers players yet. And that's where Beale will come in. And for him to bring his, that's what I keep saying, I just think he needs a refresh. He needs to bring his own players in. He needs to be backed. And he needs to go and build a team of winners. Or bring guys in that are that know what it's about. Because that's what we need. We need guys that know what it's about and want to play for Rangers. Because a lot of guys come into Rangers and they just... You've seen players come to Rangers, Scotia. You've seen big names come to Rangers and they just can't hack it. Again, it's the same with the other side of the city. The pressure, they just can't hack it. And we need guys like that. And I think he'll bring guys like that into Rangers. He did highlight Joe Aribo's, Calvin Bassey's. I think that's an area he might go down because he's quite good with youth players. And I did highlight that in the last pod we did. So, no, it's all positive so far. But like I've said on this podcast tonight, let's do the talking in the Park Rangers.
No, Carney, it's interesting. I actually meant to double check this before I came on because I wanted to be definite in what I was saying. But in terms of like trebles, I think we're spoiled, obviously, because in terms of winning, we had those successive league titles through.
No, Scotia's dad's not pedaling quick enough here, is he?
Scotia.
But I think a lifetime. Oh, sorry, my Wi-Fi's having a bit
of dad's cycling quick.
Sorry, guys. But I think in terms of my lifetime, right, you're going to need to find new jokes to come up with, Pearson. That's been going on a wee bit too long now.
Right, ask your question again.
But in terms of, I think we've only won 3 trebles in my lifetime.
Yeah, probably. But again, it doesn't really matter, does it? Like, that's what I mean. You expect Rangers to win everything. It's what we are. It's what we've grown up as. Look, and I know the period that I grew up, the generation that I grew up in watching Rangers, I was spoiled rotten. I know I was. I know what I seen. Do you know what I mean? When I sit and have conversations with my dad's what, 70 something, and we have conversations about Rangers, and he tells you about some of the times he's had to watch when he's going to Ibrox and there's only 7,000, 8,000 there because Rangers were just absolutely shocking. And yeah, and then you think of what we grew up watching. I mean, we grew up doing 9 in a row. Brian Laudrup was my hero, Paul Gascoigne, Alan McCoist, Mark Haitley, Richard Gough. It's players that don't exist anymore because it's a different era of football now, it really is. So we were spoiled, but it's never really going to stop me expecting Rangers to win everything. Even after what we bloody went through, all the banter years and everything, I still expected Rangers to win absolutely everything, and I still do to this day. There is no looking back now anymore because we did get to a European final, and I think what Beale meant in terms of what, again, is what my interpretation of it, and it's probably because my glass is overflowing with optimism right now about Beale, is I think he meant they're the winners in terms of they got to a European final. And I think it is easy for us to forget that. It is. I know it's last year, and I've been on here saying it doesn't matter what they've done then, but I do also like after the interview last night in the Blue Room, I've heard on Heart and Hand, I heard on Folads as well, that there was a wee bit afterwards where they could sit and have a conversation with him that wasn't recorded on camera. And he said, I think a lot of outsiders look in and think Rangers are in a bad place, or it's kind of been a disaster and they're broken. He's like, you can't go from a European finalist to now and be a broken club. I just don't think that's the case. I believe in I do still believe he does have to put his own stamp on things. There is going to be players that need to move on now, but I think he'll make the call on that. It could be the rebirth of some players. Look, this always happens as well when we get a new manager in. There's somebody that will come to the forefront that's maybe not been getting a game, maybe not been getting the game time, and they tend to shine a little bit. That will happen. It all depends who it is going to happen with. And the biggest, I think what will remain the biggest talking point right now is what happens with Morelos and Kent. They are the two massive ones that everybody is thinking about. I'll stop here, Scotia, in case you were going to come on to that.
No, you can keep going. I'll let you have your say, and then we'll go on to Pearson, get his thoughts.
Yeah, so I do think there is, I understand the need for change, the want for change as well. And I do think we need new faces. I also think that we can't go full gung-ho. We really need to play it correct. I do think one of the two of them need to move on 100%. I think one of the two of them need to move. I really don't know what one out of the two. I think Kent's got more chance, if I'm going to be honest, to stick around more than Alfredo Morelos. I think it might be the end of Alfie at Rangers. But again, that's another one we're going to need to wait and see. And Beale has to weigh up what his budget is, what his wages are going to be, what's available to him, and whether he wants to tie them up on long-term contracts. Let's be honest, they're not going to be particularly cheap to tie up Alfredo for another 3 years or tie up Kent for another 3-4 years, whatever it may be. So he's got a lot of weighing up to do. And I suppose he's got honest conversations to have with the players as well. They have to decide whether they want to be here or they don't want to be here because far too many of them dragged their feet this season. We've all seen it. We've all had a go at every single one of them for doing it. And it's now time for... Beale has to be ruthless to a certain extent. He really has to. He's going to need to be kind of cutthroat and be like, no. If the player's saying, yeah, he wants to be here, he wants to make an improvement, if improvement's not happening, then he has to be brave and he has to say, no, it's not happening for you here. It's time for you to move. Get money in for what they can, free up wages and bring in his players. I still think regardless of what the future of Morelos and Kent, Beale is going to need to bring in his own players.
Yeah, a lot to go through there, Pearson, because it kind of covers a few things, and in an awful lot of his interviews this week, he's been asked about the team, and he's made quite a bit of reference to Kent and Alfie, speaking about them in terms of comparing them to the Goldson situation. I know he did in the Sky Sports interview, he did mention that he's known Ryan Kent since Kent was 14 years old, I think, so he's obviously knows him really well. But he talked about him. They also brought up your Ruths and Hadjis, the importance of getting them back into the team and things like that, which some people may look at that and go, we need more of a rip up and a change of approach. But he was fairly positive in those players. But really takes me to the main point, and something that we've kind of mentioned is this couple of transfer windows. The squad, it does need ripped up, but how big a rip up can we actually make? What are you expecting? A few players to come in here and there, or do you see a big massive turnover over the next two windows?
I think it needs to be a quite a big turnover. I don't think he's going to rip the whole team apart. He can't rip the whole team apart. There's going to be 3-4 guys for me that will stay there. And I'm not including guys like Tom Lawrence, who we've not seen yet. To me, he's like a new player coming back. He's referenced Kent. You'll get a tune-out Kent. I know you'll get a tune-out Kent. I wouldn't expect me. I wouldn't be surprised if Ryan Kent's man of the match on that Thursday night against Hibs and tears him apart, because he's known him since he's 14. He knows what makes him tick, Ryan Kent. Morelos is just he's Alfie. He's just out the two of them. I'm like Carney. If one of them was to stay, for me it would be Kent. If I had to have the choice, it would be Kent. I think he will get a tune out of Kent. I was listening to Open Goal, and Andy Haldy was going on about it. He was asked about it, and he was saying the guy he really likes is Glenn Kamara, who has not even checked in this season with Rangers. Kamara, he's, like I said, his two pals are away. Looks disinterested. Kamara, he's been woeful this season. But he said he's a guy, don't be shocked to see Glenn Kamara in that team straight away, because he likes Kamara. So he's a guy you might get one of these rebirths, like you want to say, when managers come in and get a tune out someday. Yeah, so I like Glenn Kamara. See, when Glenn Kamara was playing under Belanger, playing some of the best football, he was linked for these moves at 15 million, whatever it was, and he's just fell away, Kamara, the last, you would say, 6 months there. He was all right in Europe for his last season. Obviously scored a goal against Leipzig at home, but this season he's been woeful. To be fair, a lot of the Rangers players have, though, but he has been injured too, Kamara. But he's one that he'll get a tune out of. But yeah, I think he'll need to. There's 10 players out of contract in the summer, Scotia. I don't know who they all are off the top of my head. I would expect the majority of them to go in the summer, and there's a few of them in big wages, so they'll free up money for him to go and spend. You mentioned Kamara. I seen back in training again. I know we have a chuckle about Kamara, but he mentioned him with Hadji, because Kamara, he can mention him in with Hadji because he is one of these players that is a difference maker. Can just do something in a game. Kamara, he's one of the type of players that we're missing at the moment, along with Lawrence, who's a huge miss. Hadji's a guy that does nothing for 80 minutes and just plays that one ball, slips and does a bit of magic. But we miss players like that. Kamara, can he play a full season? We know that. Everyone knows that. But if you can get 10, 15 games out of him, he's usually pretty decent, to be fair. But yeah. But in the summer, particularly Scotia, I think we'll see. There's 10 players out of contract. I think we'll see at least 10 players leaving the summer, at least. And they'll need to bring players in. We need to. We can't keep going with these same guys. Your Arfields, he'll be gone. Your Ryan Jack, Carney, I think he may go. Alfie, Hollander, there's a lot of them. So yes,
do you not think it's one more turn of Jackamara, mate? No.
Ryan Jack.
No, it won't be. It won't be. I'm kidding.
Ryan Jack. Well, it might have to be in the short term with Tom Lawrence if he's not back. You might see Ryan Jack, Kamara, and Lundstrom or something in the middle of the park. I know Tillman's there, obviously, but interesting to see what he does in the middle of the park, because he has referenced, I don't want Rangers playing with a handbrake on. I want the handbrake taken off. So that suggests to me one sitting midfielder and not two going forward.
Yeah, Scotia, can I quickly ask you both a question as well? Sorry. Obviously, we've seen the training videos as well. Surely, don't call me that, but surely it's now time for Lowry to get a chance, because he's been training with the first team, and we are in desperate need of something like that. So if he is training with the first team, I really hope Beale gives the boy a game. And look, I know Lowry's still young, he's going to make mistakes, I do get that, but against your lesser Scottish teams, then especially Ibrox, I think he has to get a chance. Scotia, what are you thinking?
Yeah, Lowry definitely. It was interesting. I heard this in Heart and Hand. That I think when the boys would get taken in to do the fan media side of things, that one of the things that Beale got asked about, that he was aware about other players that had come in, and Beale had said that he really, really was looking forward to working with Tillman. But with Lowry, I think it's really important to have him coming in and about the team as well, because they're both young lads. I don't fully expect them all to play, continuously all the time. So it'd be good to have Lowry in there as an option to kind of switch in and out with Tillman when they need to.
Yeah, I think Lowry. I said it for a while. We've been missing, especially last few games at Ibrox in particular, a guy to get you off your seats, get you excited, and he's a guy that can do it. Lowry. I mean, you've seen that. Everyone's seen the wee clip of him doing. Was it Tavi done with a ball, put a ball over the top of his head? He's got that in his locker. Lowry. He's special. He's not the finished article. He's still a young lad, but he's going to make mistakes. But he can do something different. He's got that bit of magic about him. So, yeah, I think you'll see. I think you'll see him against Leverkusen coming up next Saturday. I think he'll be in the bench. He had Lovelace was also in training as well. Scotia. I mean, he's 16, but he looks about 26. So, Barton goes in for that B team. Another guy you might see on the bench next week. So, like I say, he does well with youth players, Beale. And he's done well with QPR. Look at QPR team that they've got a lot of young players, and he's got a tune out of them. So he knows what makes the young players tick. And I think he'll start to use these players if they're good enough. It doesn't matter what their age is. Get them in the Rangers team, and I think Lowry is one of them.
Yeah, no, definitely. Right, before we kind of move on to a few other bits and pieces, just finally, we've mentioned it there in terms of the squad overhaul and things, players coming at the end of their contract. Carney, I'll ask you, I've got the list up here of the players contract at the end of the season.
What's this, Scotia? Keep
Mary Shagger Void, is it?
Yeah, right. Adam Devine, keeper, let go.
Oh, keep.
Pearson, keep. Yeah. Obviously offering a new contract. James Sands. This option to buy.
How much is the option? We don't know.
3 million apparently. But apparently 3 million.
3 million? Nah, sorry. Nah, too much. No, go for me.
I'm the same as Carney. If it's 3 million, no.
No.
Right. Tillman.
Oh, God.
6 million.
What's his? 6
million.
Goodness gracious me. I'll reserve judgment on that until I see what Beale gets out of him. I think if Beale has mentioned as well that he was looking forward to really working with Tillman. He'd mentioned that in the afters as well with the kind of fan media stuff, that he was really looking forward to working with Tillman. So I'll reserve judgment on that. If he gets more of a tune out of him and gets the best out of him, then I can't see why we wouldn't, because I think it's profit in the long run for Rangers. If he goes on to have a bit of a career, I think he could be another kind of Nathan Patterson moving on for about 12 million. So maybe.
Did I ask you? No, Ali, what did I ask you?
No. Similar to Karen, I'd like to see what Beale does with him. But at present, if I was asked right now, it'd be no. I wouldn't keep him. I think we could spend that money better.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I think on Tillman, I'd reserve judgment until the end of the season, up to then, because at that point, Hadji will be back in. So, and you've got Lowry as well, so there'll be a few options for that position potentially. Right, Kieran Wright, goalkeeper. Obviously, he's a backup.
Yeah, go.
Elliot.
Well.
Yeah. Morelos and Kent we've spoke about. I think both for Kent, got staying, Alfie leaving.
Yeah.
Again, I'll reserve judgment until I see what happens. Philip Hollander.
If Morelos comes back and scores 20 in a month, mate, then I'll change my tune pretty quickly.
Yeah. Philip Hollander, Carney.
Not a chance. Goodbye, Phil. Goodbye.
Ali.
Great song for Big Phil, but I'll miss that song. But no, it's goodbye. Goodbye to Big Phil.
Yeah, and then in the last batch, McGregor.
Nah.
Done.
And then you've got Stephen Davis.
Nah, sorry. Done.
And then the one to talk about maybe is both Arfield and Jack. What are your thoughts on both of them?
Nope.
Goodbye.
Thank you, but cheerio.
Look, there is no doubt that both can be used, right, still within this squad. I do believe that, but they can't be starters. They can't be regular starters. There has to be something else for it. Do I think Ryan Jack can be cover for Lundstrom in other games? Yes, I do. But
does he want to be covered? Does he want to be covered?
Does he want to be covered as well? That's another thing. Does he want to be covered? Yeah, that's true. And Scott Arfield is good to bring on as an impact sub, but he doesn't have the legs in him to play consistently anymore. To be honest, I think we need to be kind of ruthless. So in order to get the fresh faces in, I think it's probably the end for both of them. It's a slow one. They've both been great servants to the club, but I think it's time to move on.
On them, I think obviously it'll depend on how Jack gets through the rest of the season, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if one of them, if Arfield's offered another extension or Jack's offered his first extension, because what I was thinking about this, what it gets into is we're going to be losing, like McGregor obviously going and things like that. You're kind of digging into the players that are Scottish and homegrown that can contribute to your European team. So you don't kind of want to get rid of them all too early, because I don't think McCann will fall into that category because he's joined us too late in his youth career. So maybe one of them to stay for me. But yeah, that was pretty much...
I don't know what order you done it in, but Potato Man just keep out.
Yeah, I think it was Divine and Right, probably.
Stevie. Oh, sorry,
I clicked that
there. Thank you, Stevie T, mate.
Stevie.
Much appreciated. That's great. Thank you. Superb.
Yeah, so I mean, also during the week, in fact, it was the evening of the announcement that Beale was there and maybe get lost in all the wash. It was that Rangers were drawn in the Scottish Cup 4th round away to St Johnstone, with the ties taking place the weekend of the 21st of January. Carney, for me, that could have been a better draw, if we're being honest.
I was thinking exactly the same thing, mate. When I seen it, I went, "Oh, of course, it's St Johnstone away in January." Yeah, it's a bit of a sticky one, that. But look, again, it all depends on how we react under Beale, and how we'll be feeling at that point. I think look, it's good. I'm not sitting here thinking that everything's just going to all of a sudden be rosy. It isn't. There's going to be stumbling blocks. Beale will have to find his way through it all. And as we spoke about, I think part of that will be ruthless with players and decisions that he has to make. But look, Rangers in the Cup away at St Johnstone, we should be winning that game. It really is as simple as that. If we've got any aspirations to do anything this season, it should just be another game and it should just be another win. That's the way it is as a Rangers fan.
Yeah, no, I was quite pleased that it wasn't another home game, because I could do without the extra cost of going along to Ibrox and getting that taken out of the CCCS thing. But it's a tough tie, Alistair, against St Johnstone. Obviously, recent scar tissue in cups against St Johnstone, but it's also the previous weekend will be the semi-final game against Aberdeen. So this is a massive week for Beale towards the middle end of January.
Yeah, especially we've highlighted the two cups, so is what he's looking at probably winning realistically, the two cups. So huge 2 weekends. St Johnstone away. I mean, ideally you want a home tie against, I don't know, a championship team or something. Ideally, that's what you want. You can play fringe type players, because obviously you've got league games too. But we should be beating St Johnstone away. I know we get beat with them for a few games ago, whatever it was there. But if we can't beat St John's away, then we don't deserve to win a cup. So you need to beat these teams to win it. So why not play them now? I've seen Hearts and Hibs, I think they drew each other in the cup as well.
That's probably the tie of the round in terms of them getting.
Yeah. So there was a few kind of.
Who did they get?
Greenock Morton at home.
Of course they did.
They always say we get an easy draw as well. Hot balls. We always get a home tie, so they could put that myth to bed.
Yeah.
Greenock Morton. That's a Celtic B team, isn't it? Christ.
Yeah. Yes, it does. Yes.
Take
it from a man that used to live. Take it from a guy that used to live in Greenock, mate. Yes.
No, yeah, I know that. But no, that's bad with them. But no, yeah, it's a difficult one, Scotia, but we should be beating St Johnstone away in the cup. So, two huge weekends. Obviously, we've got the Aberdeen one at Hampden, which I'm looking forward to. Not going to Hampden, obviously, but it's a semi-final. It's in the cup. It's against the Sheep. Bit of needle there, so I'm looking forward to that. And then obviously you've got the St Johnstone game. So it might be in the telly, that game. Whether that'll be the Saturday or Sunday, I don't know, Scotia. I think you're right. The Hearts-Hibs game is probably the big one of the tie. So depends where they put that. We'll get moved around, I'd assume, for TV as well.
Yeah, will definitely be one of the TV games, no doubts about that. But no, there was a few. I think there was like your likes of Darvel, Stirling Uni. I think we're still in it.
Yeah.
And Drumchapel. That, you know, obviously, you look at them and they'd be like, oh, like they'd be easy ties, but you never know with Rangers. Sometimes they can just take it too lightly.
Well,
but we'll see.
Yeah, not playing away in games like that as well. No offence or anything like that, but going to the kind of stadiums, it's tough, man. Like,
do you remember Annan last season? Remember the weather when we went there last season?
Yeah, that was horrific.
Could you see the game because all the rain came in the camera?
That's so it did. That's right. That's right. Aye, that's good. It was swirling into the camera, wasn't it? Yeah, that's right. But no, it'd be difficult, that one. But yeah. St Johnstone, it is what it is. I agree with Ali. If we're not winning that, we don't deserve to win the cup. Simple as that.
No, yeah. So that's to look forward to in January. Those cup games. But before we finish up and leave you for the evening, everyone. Obviously, but before we get back on, there'll be the small matter of the Rangers EGM, which is taking place next Tuesday. Next Tuesday, that's taking place. So obviously, coming into it with a new manager, I'll caveat this from the off that I am not a shareholder. So my comments and opinions on
none of us are.
None of us are. Yes.
Yeah.
So our opinions and comments don't really matter. But Kenny, I never know what to expect from EGMs, because obviously they're set up there to kind of go through the accounts that were obviously released a few weeks ago now, and go through the resolutions. I had a look. I think there's 7 ordinary resolutions and 1 special resolution to get passed, and mainly the majority are to accept the accounts re-election to the board for some people, and the other ones, to be honest, because I'm not a shareholder and because I don't work in that industry, I've got no idea what they're really about. It's all very kind of technical and financial for me.
Well, Scotia, if you know, I have got absolutely no chance, mate.
I'm sure if I was a shareholder, I would look into it and get myself knowledgeable about it. But looking at it from the off, I looked through it and I went, don't know what that means. There's certain sections and acts that they're talking about, all these legal jargon. But are you looking forward to the AGM next week, Garnet?
It'd be interesting to see what comes out of it, I suppose. But yeah, as you say, we do have to caveat it with that I chose not to take that. Well, purely and simply, I couldn't afford it. It was as simple as that. I was at a stage of life that I couldn't afford to do that, and I'm gutted that I didn't. No, probably not. I'm not. I do get the kind of sentiment behind it, and you're kind of part of the club, but no, I'm not. I think there's going to be difficult questions. Does it open up to the floor? Is that what happens? Is there like an open question?
I think there is.
Shareholders get asked the board, yeah. So, yeah, I think the one that's going to be under the biggest scrutiny is probably Douglas Park and probably Ross Wilson. Douglas Park doesn't do himself any favours, in my opinion. He's too quiet as a chairman. He's never shown us real leadership in terms of the way he's directing the club. We don't really see or hear anything from him. It's all the kind of wishy-washy comments that he gets put in statements in terms of when we signed a new manager, or they obviously sacked Gio or whatever. So I do think he'll be under a bit of scrutiny. I do think Ross Wilson's done his best since he reappeared, to be honest, on last night when he reappeared next to Michael Beale again, like a cat that's got the cream, to try and kind of save himself a little bit. He's going to come under questions. And interestingly, Michael Beale has come out and said that when he was here under Gerrard, every player that they brought in was a player that they wanted. None was a Ross Wilson signing. Michael Beale said that anybody that he's going to bring in is going to be his signing, and Ross Wilson is just the guy that deals with the paperwork, if you like, the boring bit, the admin bit, the negotiating of different things. Michael Beale's got no interest in sitting doing goal bonuses with strikers, for example. So I do you have to take that as face value. And if that is the case, and again, before people come in and criticise me here, that if that is the case, then you've got to cut Ross Wilson some slack there, because it's not really been him. It's been the manager. It's been whoever's been in charge that's made the decisions. I think Gio's comments were misconstrued with the way that he was mentioning his relationship with Ross Wilson, possibly, and it's all been blown a wee bit out of proportion, as things usually are with somebody from Rangers saying something. But I'll still stand by the fact that I don't think Ross Wilson's tenure has been a particular success. But I am also a believer that the director of football role isn't really required at Rangers, so I'm probably a wee bit biased on that sense. But no, I think they two are the two that they'll face the most heated questions, I think.
No, I think you're right to say that. Before I move on to Pearson and get his thoughts, I'm just going to put you right in the spot here. If you were a shareholder and you were at the AGM and you had the chance to ask a question, what would it be?
Why did you sign Aaron Ramsey, you moron? What were you thinking? Honestly, what would I ask? Oh, mate, I really don't know.
I know what I'd ask.
It's a real difficult one. Go on, right, Ali.
You go then. Give him time.
I would ask, why didn't you invest in the squad when we get into the Champions League? Why didn't you go and buy positions that we knew we needed to go into that? That would be mine.
Have you thought of anything?
And they kind of have answered that in the three of them when they came out, and they kind of gave us political answers. But I'd like to know that.
Yeah, maybe along the same lines. I think my biggest, my question would be, from when Dave King took over, we were led to believe that the club was on a certain journey. It looks like that journey has slightly deviated. Why is the board not communicated that with fans? I would say to you before we started, I've watched some of the question and answer Q&A with Dave King that was at Club 1872 that's on YouTube. I watched a bit of that, and he made a few interesting comments. I do think a lot of that is kind of blown out of proportion, and he puts on a wee bit more of a bravado when it's in front of Club 1872 members. However, he did make a few interesting comments that the biggest investor into Rangers is always going to be the fans, and I do feel personally that this board, the current regime that we have, has took a wee bit of advantage of us. Nothing's really been explained to us why things have happened the way they have. Champions League prices, for example, it was never really fully explained to why they are doing it, especially after the sales that we'd had, players-wise and whatever else, and getting to the Champions League for that matter. So, yeah, it would be more, why have you chosen not to have more clarity with the fans with what exactly you are doing with our money that we put into the club? It's a very straightforward question, I think, and it's also a question if they answered it correctly, and even if they answered it sort of incorrectly or rubs people up the wrong way the way they say it won't matter. The fans at least will at that point know what exactly is going on. So yeah, what is the journey? What's the journey that you believe it as a club chairman?
That's a very good question, actually. I've not even considered it. I just asked you on the spot. I still can't think of one that I would ask myself. But before we wrap up, finally, Pearson.
To be fair, mate, I just kind of blabbered on a little bit there and got to a question.
No worries, yeah. Before we wrap up, Pearson, just finish with your kind of thoughts overall on the AGM.
I think it'll be a wee bit lively. I think if Gio was there, it would have been complete fireworks. I would have felt sorry for Van Bronckhorst being in that. Thankfully, they've taken him out the firing line. They've brought some positivity going into this. That was a factor in bringing Beale in now and removing Van Bronckhorst this AGM. That it had to be a factor. I know we were pulling apart, but with this coming up, there will be some fireworks at it. Will they really answer the questions, or will they just give the political answer and the sound bites? I don't think we'll get that much out of it than what we expect them to say on certain questions that they'll be asked. They'll be asked questions that we all want to know, but I don't think they'll give the answer that we're looking for. They'll be around the houses in terms of how they're going to answer it, but it'll be interesting going forward. There's a lot of positive things, obviously, with Beale coming, but there's a lot of negativity off the park in terms of we've got that good umpteen folk to want to sue Rangers all the time. I know it's a lot of clickbait, but every time you turn on, there's always somebody wanting to sue us. The latest one's is Sydney. There we go.
That's a very good question. I hope somebody asks that.
Well,
I hope somebody goes, what were you thinking?
Well,
like,
that's
it got asked last year.
Did it?
Yeah. But I mean, that's the latest one in a line of what we've had in terms of they want to sue Rangers for, was it £1.5 million or something? And it's obviously it's going to go to court. Obviously, I'd like to think Rangers pulled out of that through a loophole that they knew of, so they can use that as a race card, because we can't continually be failing in court cases like we did against Sports Direct. So that'll be interesting, but that's a different route to go down.
That's quite a good one. Have you made up with Ryland yet? Because he's the cinch guy, isn't he? Ryland's that's good.
I don't know. We'll see if he's got a turkey teeth Douglas Clark part that maybe has. That's what Ryland Clark's got. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, Scotia. But I don't think we'll get much out of it, if you want to know.
Nah, you won't.
Behind the scenes guys that are in the know will, but regular fans like ourselves and regular fans too going to the AGM who I don't think we'll get that much out of it.
No, we'll wait and see. That's us nearing the hour mark, so I think I'll probably do this for this evening. Obviously, we'll be back next week and we'll give our sort of thoughts on the AGM. I'm sure, and look ahead to that Leverkusen game. I know you can. Sure, last year you get him on follow. There was a wee thread going on that was kind of tweeting out live from the event. Probably do the same if you've not been banned from that yet, people. no point in anyone.
Arnhem do it as well.
What do they?
Arnhem do it. Imagine.
Yeah. So I follow that on Twitter, no doubt. So that'll do us for this evening. First off, thank you, Mr. Scott Carnick.
My pleasure, mate. Absolute joy to come on and talk about Rangers just now. It really is. Good chat tonight, to be honest. Interesting week ahead to see what we get, if anything, out of the AGM. And we're getting closer and closer to Rangers being back.
Indeed, and also thank you to Alistair Pearson.
No problem. Good podcast tonight, lads. That's nearly an hour we've done there again. Talked about Beale again. We've talked about him in a few podcasts now. But looking forward to getting closer to having Rangers in the park. I know it's only a friendly next week, but we are getting close. Christmas period as well. So, looking forward to next Friday when we discuss more about Rangers.
Yeah, indeed. So, just like to also thank all the listeners and viewers for being along with us this evening. If you can, as we always say, if you could like, share and subscribe, help us push those numbers up a wee bit further. That would be much appreciated. And then
it's done nearly so well.
I'm presuming you've wrapped up there because you just went into the you're into the shadow realm there, mate. You disappeared. You absolutely disappeared.
Sorry, nearly made it, but thank you, everyone.
Good night, everyone.